Well, my 5.0 guys and ladies, got an update on the 5.0. So, last week I installed the Tial blow-off valve. And I have to say, I have the 2-pound spring. So, that means at 2 pounds of boost, the spring closed. And it stay closed until I come off of boost. And once it gets south of 2 pounds of boost, the blow-off valve open. The Tial blow-off valve is very, very loud. Now, drivability. It drives a lot different than when I had the precision blow-off valve on there, because the precision blow-off valve closed right before you get at zero vacuum. So I think 5 inches of mercury, it would close. Anything north of that, so 4 and up, and then get in the boost, of course, it's closed. That made drivability not that bad, but I'm not always in boost. Right, with the Tial. With the Tial, I actually got to put my pedal down a little bit more, almost halfway down, to really crank it up. And with the precision, I ain't really have to go down all the way. I just go 3/4 of the way down, and the thing will be building boost. That helps keep a load off the engine. But I mean, drivability, it is night and day, because with the Tial, it's going to open up sooner to let air out. With precision, it opens up when I get into vacuum. With the Tial, it opens up the moment it gets south of boost. So I can still be in boost, but if I'm making less than 2 pounds, it's open. 1 pound, it's open. It's a 2-pound spring. So night and day. I'm anxious to see how it's going to do in the dyno. I have some parts for the car. I got the new vacuum block that hooks up to the manifold brake booster, that line right there. I'm taking the old one off because when I first put the kit on, I had modified that line to run my boost line, my boost reference line. And I realized that it wasn't the most cleanest design. So I went right to the blow-off valve, and that lets me know the blow-off valve is working properly, because if it's closing all the way, I'm seeing max boost. The precision, I was seeing the max boost with the precision blow-off valve as well. Even though I think it might have a little bit of a boost leak, I think I did bend the diaphragm a little bit, because I constantly open up that thing. I have add spacers and all that shit going off the precision chart, not understanding that's for a turbo application, not supercharger. Supercharger, you need to be open to idle. With turbos, you can get away with having the blow-off valve closed at idle, because the weight gates will regulate your boost in the turbo via the exhaust. So you know, when you get in the boost waste gate, once you get to the proper boost pressure, that waste gate opens to allow the exhaust gas to exit, so it keeps your turbine regulated at the proper boost, and your blow-off valve stay closed so the air can pass in. Well, once you come out of boost, the blow-off valve in a particular vacuum range will open up, depending on what spring size you got in there, to allow the air out. And once you get past that particular vacuum range, it closes back up. The wastegate at that time in the back will close too, because once again, now the air is bypassing out, so it's not spooling up boost until you get back up in the RPM range. So with that being said, I just said all that mumbo jumbo to say this, because a lot of people get it confused. When you have a supercharged car, you need to make sure that your blow-off valve is open at idle. Turbos, wastegate controls the boost, so your blow-off valve, you can have it closed at idle, which is recommended because it's the spring size, or it can be open at idle. Because once again, you know, the wastegate is controlling the amount of boost. But you need to make sure your blow-off valve is going to close under boost, because if not, you're going to have a boost leak, and then you're going to have some problems. Drivability is going to suck like ass. Now, if you got a Whipple, you don't have an intercooler because it's built into the Whipple, so you don't have to worry about blow-off valve. But centrifugals and turbos, the blow-off valve, supercharged centrifugal, need to be open at idle, because you're making boost no matter what. No matter what, you're building boost at idle. I learned that the hard way, listening to different forums and trying different things. Idle, open, close, under boost. Now, I'm addressing the other issues on the car with the vacuum block. Like I say, I'm trying to make sure I ain't got no leaks anywhere, so I'm putting all new stuff on the car in that regards. I'm getting my strut boots put back on. The actual strut mounts, not the boot, not the actual boot that's out of the strut, but the actual stud mount that sits on top of the strut that you put the bolts on under the hood to pull the strut into place. I'm replacing that because I stripped the studs and the bolts with the strut tire brace that I got from American Muscle, because the screws with the nuts they gave me to go on the side of my studs, stripped studs. So I'm kind of fucked in that regards. But once I get that replaced, Lawrence springs going, all that stuff, then I'm going to look at the manifold bolts. I'm going to check valve cover bolts, which I don't have a valve cover leak because I'll be smelling oil. But I'm going to check my manifold bolts. All the stuff that I had to take off to install the supercharger, I'm rechecking, retightening up every motherfucking thing. And I'm going to go from there. And if I still hear anything, then guys, I know blowers are loud. You're going to hear a blower like you hear a whipple. You know that whee! So you're going to hear some blowing. But I just want to make sure I don't have no leaks anywhere. Now, here's the big question. How much power should I be making? Now, with the setup that I have now on the car, it made right at 600 horsepower at 75 or 7,600 RPM, right? Dude didn't take 8,000. It made that much. Now, I have the G2 head. It's not the big head, okay? And depending on your actual setup, if you're running cats, no cats, where your spark plugs gapped at, how aggressive is your tuner on the timing, all of that stuff can dictate how the car's going to perform, right? As well as fuel quality. Are you running any octane? Are you running E85? You know, all that stuff is going to dictate your power. Now, right now, I'm only running 93. Now, I have the 120 millimeter pulley on, and it's making almost 3 more pounds of boost. All right, I got up to 9 pounds at 8,000 RPM, so it's making some more boost. Almost 2.5 more pounds. So, if I'm a betting man, I say with my mods and everything, it should make somewhere between, I would say, very conservatively, 640 would be very conservative to the tire. But no more than 680. 640 to 680. And why is that? Well, by per pound of boost, per pound is making about 20 horsepower. That's conservatively. But you can make up as much as 30 horsepower. And that's being with aggressive timing, spark plugs, what exhaust you're running, gas. Also, your transmission. If the transmission, and I have a stick shift, so clutch, if my clutch isn't doing right, slipping, or having an issue with putting the power down through the transmission via the drive shaft and everything else, I could be losing power there. So there are a lot of things that go into this. Not everybody gonna make the same power. I've seen some guys with the same setup making with I got the NGK 6510s gap that's 0.028. I know I've seen in some forums that Lund now is recommending 0.026 depending on the application and everything else you got done. Wagner is 0.027. I know when I first got mine, ESS and Lund, they both recommended 0.028 on my application. So hindsight, you can go down to, I will assume, no more than 0.025 up to no more than 0.028, right? So I might be regapping spark plugs, and then I got to do a whole new tune. I got to send out, pay for a new tune. I got to rewrite a new tune, do all that stuff there. If the power isn't where I want it to be, if it's only making 620, 630, then definitely I have a boost leak somewhere. So 640 is the bare minimum that it should be making with this 120, and no more than, like I say, 690 will be awesome. But I'm not shooting for 690. Somewhere between 640 and 690 is where it should fall. And if I want to really play it safe, 660 will be the perfect number. So if it's making 660, then that means that it made roughly about 30 more pounds of boost. 30 more horsepower per pound of boost. And that'll put it at 660, which would be great. But if not, if it made 20 more horsepower per pound of boost, then it should put somewhere around 640 to 650. So everybody's setup is different, guys. And I know the G3s, low end on a G3 with a 120 makes 680. Depending on everything was done in the core with a G3 with a 120, you can make up to 730. I have seen 730 horsepower dyno pulls with a 120 with a G3. G3 flows more air. It's going to make a little bit more boost. Therefore, they're going to make a little bit more power, right? So I'm anticipating mid 600s, and that put close to 700 to the crank. But if I have a 670, 680, I'll be content with that. This car isn't going to be a drag racing car. I'm not saying it won't go to a drag strip, but it won't be a drag racing car. The next mod that's going to go on is the Lawrence Springs, and then I'm going to be working with the shop that I'm dealing with to have them take out the RXT clutch. I may go with a Mantic clutch, well, a spec clutch. He said go with a spec. Ran for no more than 800 horsepower. Because you know 800 horsepower, that's to the flywheel, that's to the crank. So they'll put roughly, that means power-wise, I'll be making about 760 to the tire, maybe 750 to the tire. So round 750 will be the cutoff point for me, because that means at the crank to the flywheel, that's about 800 horsepower. And that'll be the max life of that clutch. I don't want too much of an aggressive clutch, because that can have some issue with transmission, which I know why my transmission went out the first one. It's a stock one back in there. It's the same thing, MT82. But the first one went out simply because that precision I had in on that blowout valve, I had spacers in that precision. It closed damn near. The moment you hit the gas, it would close up. That is a lot of boost hitting that transmission very fast at low RPMs. And that caused the gear and the transmission to go bye-bye. So, knowing what I know now, I know the transmission is okay, because like I say, it drives just fine. But I'm going to be swapping clutches. I'm going to be swapping shifters. The Barton's all right. It's just a little bit too chatty for me in the cold. And honestly, I think the shop that put it in, I know, because I took out springs out and made it back stock. They didn't put it in the right way. They had the springs to stiffen it up, right? The way Barton let you know it comes with springs installed. You can take them out to make them back to a stock feel. They had them upside down. There were caps that are supposed to go on the top to press the spring down. They had them at the bottom like this here, upside down. And it's all on video. I got it on video a few months back. So, well, a few weeks back. So I don't think they actually done it right. It shifts, but I get a second gear lockout now at high RPM from first to second, not second to third, first to second. It locks out. If I try to take first up to 7,000 to shift, which isn't recommended, you're gonna just spin tires, it'll lock out. Now it's not so much a bad thing, but if I want to shift, I like shifting at about 5,500 to 6,000 at first if I'm trying to get out the line, right? And if it locks out, then guess what? I got to go to third. So, I think when they put this shifter in, they didn't do it the right way. I had to find second gear. It was a lot of shit I had to do, because they didn't even find second gear. They just slapped it in there, and it was all fucked up. So, I'm going to go with the MGW, and I'm going to let the shop that specifies a Mustang put it in. And then I'm going to re-dyno the car and see what it does. With a new clutch, a new shifter. I might as well go and upgrade the drive shaft to a one-piece drive shaft. I love the 355. I know a lot of you guys is telling me to go down to a smaller gear, like a tall gear. The smaller gear, that means it's tall, and you got more RPM, right? What's that? 315. About be as low as I go. I think those are in the A10s. It'll keep me in the RPM band a lot longer. I have a lot more top end, but I'll be sacrificing some torque on the low end, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, I can get out the line, and I ain't worry about spinning too much, but I won't see hardly no torque until I get up in the RPM. The 355s is a mix of both. It's not so aggressive. I think the 373, of course, would be as high as you want to go in a supercharged car. You get on the line a lot faster. You lose a little bit of top end, but you got a lot more grunt down low, a lot more torque down low. So I'm debating on if I want to go 315s or 373s. I like 355s, but who knows how I might do it after this year, because that's gonna be an upgrade after this year, because I'm saving up now for the 4-fuel innovation system to go in, so I can run E85 eventually. And like I said, it's gonna just live on the 120. I'm not trying to play down the 110 or 115. I gotta live exclusive E85. It's gonna live on the 120 pulley, and that way I can swap between E85 and 93. Of course, I got to get a whole new tune for Lung, exclusively for E85 only, because they don't have a flex fuel right now for supercharged applications. So it'll be a dedicated tune for the supercharger. And then when I want to go for 93, because I'm going to go on the road or something like that, I can swap the tune back over to the 93 tune, 9193, and put the octane in there. And if I want to raise the octane content, make it a little bit more power, just add octane booster. So all in all, the car is running good. It's been cold, so I haven't really did any videos. But it's supposed to warm up this week. It's supposed to be in the 60s, the middle of the week. It might rain, so if it rains, that might prolong me having any videos, me driving the car with the Tial BOV valve and getting on the car, showing you guys what the car does. That's another thing too before I get off of here. Excuse me. I know a lot of you guys knows the acceleration of my vehicle. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing videos, I'm not really flooring it because traffic. It's very hard where I live at to get an open road, okay? Also, my knock sensors on the Mustang is very, 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 very jumpy. I think a lot of it got to do with the clutch that's in the car. I know the RXT, they advise you to turn it off once you want to rip up on it. With those tires on the vehicle and with it being cold, that's not a wise idea. I'm not going to hook. If anything, I'm going to hook up to a fucking tree. All right. So, you know, when you get an RPM and you shift at high RPM with the traction control on, it will cut timing. Instead of adding, it's taking timing away. And so the next time I do a pull, I'll show you guys what I mean. If I shift too high with traction on, it's going to take timing. And that means it's going to slow down my acceleration in the next gear. And that's just due to the knock sensors sensing a lot of vibration. Maybe the spark plugs is having some pre-detonation issues going on. The octane, it could be getting lean up top. So there are a lot of things that would cause the knock sensors to do that. Number one being traction control being on at high RPM. All right. So taking that off would then tell the ECU not to have the knock sensors be too happy on a lot of them things, right? So I want you guys to understand that. So a lot of times you'll see me shift at 6 with traction on, or even 5.5, because it's not cutting my timing. Yes, I might temporarily slide out of boost, but the my power will climb real quick because it's not having to re-add timing and all that stuff. Instead of, you know, from it taking timing, it can just keep giving me all the timing that I want. But once it warms up, I will be taking the traction off, going on a back road, warming the tires up, making them nice and sticky, and doing a second gear pull through fourth, maybe a 62 140 or a 62 130 or you know, 40 to 130 pull, something like that, just to show you guys the difference with the traction being on, traction being off, and things of that nature there. I just want to point that out. That's why I'm trying to make sure I ain't got no boost leak, number one, to make sure that even though I'm seeing peak boost on the blow valve, if there's any leak at any one of the lines, then, well, I still wouldn't see peak boost. If it's a very small leak, I would, but if it's a big leak, I wouldn't, because air won't be able to get to where it needs to get to. And essentially, the supercharger will be working a lot harder than what it needs to work. But since I'm seeing boost as I'm driving and the car is going faster and the boost is going up, that lets me know I probably don't have a boost leak, but I just want to go through, verify, tighten up anything. Because like I said, the smallest crack can make a big difference in power. Or you found a small crack, you tighten up everything, and you stop hearing certain sounds, and then the car really responds a little bit better. All my couplers was a little loose. I had to go back and tighten up those couplers, those silicone couplers that ESS give you with the coupler brace that go around. Those screws with those nuts had backed out a little bit. So I had some loose couplers. Tighten all that up, and the car got a little more responsive as well. So, but of course, you don't want to over tighten those couplers because you can inadvertently cut into the silicone. Then you might have a motherfucking problem. So you want to get them tight as you possibly can without over tightening them or stripping them out. But I say by every 10,000 miles or so, I would check. That's 7,500. That's normally when I do the oil on my supercharger. I would check. Just check under the hood, those are the main ones. Of course, the intercooler, you got to pull the bumper off. But check. Check the head unit, check those bolts and shit, and then check around the engine. Pull your bumper off, check the intercooler. You'll be surprised. I'm going to try to get some lockout nuts to go on there that'll fit, so I ain't got to worry about them bagging off. But just doing basic maintenance can make a night and day on power loss and gain on these particular units. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. The car is getting ready to go to a shop here in the next few weeks for that. Once I put it in and I get an estimate how much it's going to cost for the Lawrence Springs and all that stuff to get done in the car, I would take before and after pictures. And then, you know, like I said, I give you guys some pulls on the car, some more dyno videos. The other miles that will be going on the car, I plan on going to a lot of car shows this year, entering my car, giving you guys some more car content, because, you know, I just don't like talking about fat acceptance and cartoons and lifting weights, getting into shape and health. I also like talking about cars. I'm a car guy. I'm a Mustang guy. I like all cars in general, but I'm just a Ford guy. So I'm going to start going to car shows this year again and getting out and really bring you guys some car content you guys can enjoy. So other than that, that's a quick update on the 5.0. Hope you guys enjoy. Until next video, guys, stay safe. I am out, guys. Peace.